What's up, everybody? Completely new video style. Got a new mic. I kind of figured, like, I've done so many just regular sit down videos since starting the channel, and I've never really shown like a full session. I did a little over a year ago. I want to say it was like last April or May or something, but I've never really taken just a full session that isn't just edited with the voiceover and whatnot. So today, got a new mic, redneck setup to say the least. Basically, I have to record the actual, like it's not the this is the transmitter. I'm not tech savvy. So the other connecting piece that goes to this through Bluetooth connected to my phone, recording the audio through my voice memos, then filming on this. So I'm going to mute this, put them together. So there's probably going to be very minimal editing, at least to start. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, just having fun today. Not going to put a whole ton of time and effort. Oh, there's a frog stuck in my window. Poor guy. I might have to go let him out after this. But either way, not going to put a whole ton of effort into editing or whatnot. So don't feel the need to sit through the whole video. Just going through a pull session, a few topics to go over too, some road to 18-inch arms updates, a few random other topics too. I'm going to answer questions, respond to comments and whatnot just between sets. So it'll be fun. A couple other miscellaneous topics like some hockey stuff now that we're in June and it's Stanley Cup final season. So either way, let's get to it. It feels super weird to not have to project my voice, even though I'm far away from the camera. So as you can see, underhand hammer strength pull-ups to start. Not pull-ups, pull-downs. So move this out of the way. Just do a quick warm-up. I don't really like to do anything else for warm-ups aside from moving the weight on the lift I'm doing. So I'll just do like half weight, 2/3 weight or something like that. Get a little bit of a stretch, get some blood flow going. But honestly, I think warm-ups are pretty overrated. And I think the more you get used to just lifting and the more time you spend lifting, the more advanced you get, the more you realize warm-ups are kind of overrated. No better way to prepare for a lift than just doing that exact lift. So that's pretty much it, and I'm really just hopping into a working set from here. So set 1, 3 plates. If you feel like if you notice that your performance goes up on your second set, you're probably not warming up quite enough. So if you do need more warm-ups, that's fine. But you don't have to go overkill on them. So this thing's old school. And by old school, I mean it has like a school bus little seat belt on here, and that's how you stay locked in. Cool thing about this is I don't have the knee pads in front of me, which takes up more space, and obviously I'm working with limited real estate here. So straps on every back movement that involves grip. This is no exception. I will do this unilaterally. I do most of my lat work unilaterally except for pull downs. I'll kind of lean into the working side and then just go hard, so. So that's about it for that set. I'll try and do full reps, but obviously getting that full lockout, the lats aren't very active anyways. Luckily, this lift won't get me out of breath too bad, but I know some things will, and you have to probably hear me breathe for an extra minute with no talking at random points, like power shrugs, for example. So unilateral stuff, usually I'll take a full minute or two rest, but on this I go a little bit less, just because I don't know, I just kind of get bored in the seat here, and then I'll just do the next side. Whew. Yeah, pretty much toast on that. So that's about what I'm looking for set one. Pretty straightforward. I've actually been experimenting more with like a top set, back off set. Not in the most like traditional way, but I'll basically just do, yeah, now I'm, now I'm out of breath. So one set that's a little bit heavier, one set that's a little bit lighter. The overall execution and technique, pretty much the same. Out of breath, bulking, not doing cardio. Kind of hitting me. And it's at the expense of the listeners / viewers. So basically, technique is really pretty much the same aside from like a couple nitpicky things. It's really just the back off set is a little bit stricter. So like the top set that I'm doing is just how I would train normally. I fall somewhere between like maximum weight moved at any cost. I'm not that, but I'm also not like slow mind muscle connection type guy. So I'll fall somewhere in between that. The top set is a little bit more towards just, I mean, the middle still, but maybe 5% towards move as much weight as possible. Don't keep it perfectly strict. And then the back offset is maybe 5% in the other direction. So pretty straightforward. Couple basic updates on road to 18-inch arms. So they're coming in at 17.9. I actually hit 17.91 as my highest. I want to say that was on Thursday morning. So yeah, I just take them every morning, fasted obviously. So they're not inflated really in any way. I haven't noticed a difference from eating or whatnot. So like maybe at the end of the day, my waist measurement is up a good amount, but my arms, limbs, or anything doesn't really change at all. So 17.91 is the PR. Lowest over the course of the past 5 to 7 days is 17.83, which was this morning. And that's after very intense, very short series of pickleball because I lost every game in a row. So we didn't need to extend the series very far. Lost a best of 7, 0-4, not bad. So that's a bunch of sweating from that. Had a few beers after, so that's obviously more dehydration, and I did not eat much yesterday. So in like the worst conditions possible, fasted this morning after a day of not lifting, sweating, drinking, whatnot. They're still 17.83. So basically, worst conditions, still very good. Still up quite a bit from when I started the series, 17.5 to 17.83. It's cool. You probably can't really see that much, but just at this point, I'm not fighting for scraps by any means, but it's going to be slow, and I'm happy with 0.3 of an inch, a little over, closer to 0.4 of an inch. So let's move on to the back off set. This is 2 sets on, I think, everything today, but I'll have to check the program. So I'll just go back to 2.5 plates on here. I don't really bother with smaller increments on this lift. I just find that it's like I stick with a certain weight for so long just to kind of make sure everything feels right and whatnot. I'm usually not like that. Oh, there's a spider. That's what I hate about May and June where I live. But yeah, there's always a handful of friends down here in the basement with me. What was I saying? I just got distracted by that spider. All right. ADHD kicked in. Let's just do the set. All right, so this will be the form is you won't really notice the difference if you don't pay attention, but for a more seasoned lifter, you'll probably see the difference a little more clear. So you'll see this a little bit stricter. And usually I'll train these with some partials and whatnot past failure versus starting to slowly cheat a little bit more beyond failure on the top set. So let's get it. So, if there's anything I don't really track very seriously in my programming, it's back training, especially like lat stuff like this, and rows too. I just find it so tedious it's like, to the point where mid-set I'm like, is that enough range of motion? Am I going to count that? And then it's like, I don't know. I feel like I kind of flip-flop back and forth between what to count, what not to count. So I just don't track it. But my back keeps growing and the numbers are generally going up. One thing you'll notice with the top set and back offset, if you don't drop the weight by too much, obviously with this, can't think of the percentage off the top of my head, but maybe it's what, a 20% decrease in weight. The performance is actually very similar because the technique change almost makes up for the weight drop. So usually I'll land at about the same amount of reps. All right, left side, let's get it. One thing I will say is this feels much easier than last time I did both of these weights, actually. So, little signs of progress. That's it. All right, so done with that. Next lift, if I remember correctly, is T-bar rows. I got a new T-bar machine, and it actually sucks. I've been thinking about selling it. There's a Cybex T-bar for sale for $250 on Facebook, and it sold right before I messaged the guy. So super frustrating. The one I have, it was a little deceptive on the actual listing. It's a standard machine with an adapter for Olympic plates on it, so it's just not very sturdy. The foot pads are angled way down, so it's super awkward. You have to like stand all the way on the end and really lean forward, or it's just impossible to manage your balance. So there we go. It's worth using, but it's a crappy machine. So, between sets, one topic is people have been commenting quite a bit that it's basically just basement arm training at this point instead of basement bodybuilding. I agree with that to an extent. Most of my content over the past 6 months plus has been all revolved around arm training, and part of that is because I think arm training's neglected in so much of social media. Like, anything I see on Instagram, it's like how to get big arms, curls 3x10, cable curls 3x10, alternating dumbbell curls, 4 sets of 15. And it's just all mindless. It's just picking random stuff. They have no philosophy behind their methods, no reasoning behind their exercise selection, and arm training it has so much untapped potential in so many of us, and it makes such a big difference in your physique. Like, I think one of the reasons why I can still look pretty good, even though I'm like 20+% body fat right now, I'm 205, which is wild. I never thought I'd be this heavy. For reference, last year, a little over a year ago, February/March of last year, I was 175. So up 30 pounds in a year and change. And I think part of the reason, aside from just generally building some muscle, obviously I'm not as lean. Part of the reason why I can still look kind of good at this body fat percentage, at least in my opinion, is just getting bigger arms, as simple as that. I wouldn't say I have like crazy impressive arms. I wouldn't say they're a strong point. Like, I still think if you look at my physique, it's pretty just like well-rounded. Don't look at my legs, but pretty well-rounded overall. But I think getting my arms to be maybe a slight strong point, or at least to the point where it's not like spider mode anymore, major difference. So let's do some T-bar rows. Let me drag this camera over here. This is one of the systems I'll probably want to refine a little bit. So where's that thing? There we go. Yeah, so you could actually see it really nicely from this angle. The foot plates are just They're angled way too much. So you basically have to stand all the way at the end, as much as you can go. The handles are really nice, so that's like the one thing. You know what? This is bad feng shui. Handles are really nice, and I like that and everything. There's a foam top, which it's kind of funky, but it doesn't feel like it reduces force output or anything. It's literally just these foot plates. If these were flat, it would be fine. All right, so main goal on here, I would say it's better to flare the elbows out a little bit more, but I'd say that is almost secondary to just emphasizing scapular retraction. So make sure as you row, you're squeezing your shoulder blades behind you. That will train the traps. This is great for the mid traps, a little bit of upper depending on how upright you are, and then the low traps, of course, too. So let's toss some plates on here. Where did they all go? I feel like I can only see. Oh, there's the other one. That's one thing about just like jam packing so much stuff in this small space. Anytime I like have to put plates on or like get set up, I'm like maneuvering through a maze or something. So a little awkward, but I'd rather have more stuff than. Great example right there. I'd rather have more stuff than have it be like clean looking. All right, let's get it. So overhand semi-pronated grip, major emphasis on scapular retraction. Anything over 3.5 plates is where the balance gets super wonky. So I have to stand up way more. At the start, it feels like it's trying to rip me forwards. And I don't know, maybe at 5 plates it actually will. If I don't get a new one by then. All right. Whew, that's it on that. And I don't know if you can see how funky the balance is just watching the set, but man, it's like if I go down too low, it's just gonna pull me forwards and I have to stay so upright. So keeping my eyes out for a better one. Whew. All right, so 3.5 plates will be next. All right, so I'll take a little rest there. Whew. Yeah, one of the things I learned from, it was actually, what was it, Arnold's Encyclopedia or whatever, Education of a Bodybuilder, whatever that book was called. It was his autobiography, and it had like some of his training at the end and whatnot. One of the things that he pointed out in that was that bent over rows are going to leave you more out of breath because you're just compressing your lungs. And I feel that so hard on that. Made so much sense when I was a beginner. I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense. He said it was a good thing because it helps your conditioning or whatever. I don't know if that's real or not, but it is what it is. Whew. Yeah, when you push those hard, it gets you. So another topic I've been thinking about it quite a bit lately. Gotten a couple comments on it. It's just in the overall like reaction videos or name dropping and clickbait, that kind of stuff. So I don't name drop very much. If I'm referencing somebody or responding to somebody, then I'll put it in the title so they're aware of what I'm talking about. But one thing I've noticed is that a lot of people say, like, oh, you're just kind of, like, you're name dropping because it will keep you relevant or get you views or whatnot. One thing I've realized is no video where I name drop, like, performs better than anything else I post. Like, I feel like my channel is almost unique in that regard, and I think part of it is because I did not ever get lucky with the algorithm. Like, this channel is the only reason I have a following is because people, bigger channels, found my channel. Who was it? It was, I can't remember who found it first. I think it was I can't speak, still out of breath. Stan Strength initially, and we did a couple videos together, and he knew Steve Shaw. Steve Shaw saw that, and then he liked my videos and had me on his channel. Alex Leonidas found me, and it's like, that's the only reason I have any subscribers. That's the only reason most people know about this channel, is just because other people that they already built their channels up gave me a shout out. So incredibly lucky, super grateful, and I think about that all the time, and I always remain grateful for that. But how that relates to my titles or name dropping or clickbait or whatnot, whatever I do doesn't perform better than anything else. I can title something like how I train arms, just like some random video that would never make it in the algorithm. Or I could say like reaction to Jeff Nippard's chest exercise tier list, tricep exercise tier list, or whatever. They all perform the same because it's the same core of subscribers that just watch my videos. They don't actually go in the algorithm. So it's kind of funky. And it's like the people that'll comment like, oh, why are you name dropping? This isn't fair. It's not fair to the people you're talking about and they're not getting anything. I'm like, well, one, they are getting shout out. Two, they get hundreds, if not thousands more times of views than I do. And three, it's not like I'm like stealing anything from them because it's just the same people that would watch my videos anyway. So it's kind of a unique situation in my opinion, where most people have built not most people, but a lot of people that do name drop, that's how they build their entire audience. So a little unique in that regard, I guess. Let's do this little back offset of T-bar rows. So there we go. All right, let's get it. Does that need to be angled up more? I feel like this thing keeps me so upright. That's probably good. Whoa. So this feels so much better. 3.5 plates. There's right at that line of 4 plates where it really starts to pull you forward. So this is a very, very nice weight for this machine. Just has a tough time going heavier. Can't be my fault, it's the machine's fault. Oh. Felt this thing jiggle off a little. Alright, well my camera turned off for whatever reason. Oh, that's kind of annoying. I did not want to edit this very much. Oh, maybe it'll be good practice. Alright, so next topic for today. This is a funny one. So there's a little bit of an English struggle in my last video. So I was trying to figure out how to say tertiary and guillotine. So I pronounced tertiary wrong. Had a couple people point that out in the comments. It's one of those words, and there's a bunch of these, that people only write in text but don't actually say out loud. So I've read the word tertiary hundreds of times. Never heard someone say it. So I'm convinced most people don't know how to say that word. Guillotine is one that I did know how to say, that Jeff, who I was reacting to, did not know how to say. So he said guillotine. I was like, wait, is that guillotine? Luckily, I have a lot of French followers too. So they were like, yeah, in France it is guillotine, and that's how you say it. I think it's a French word at least. So, whew. either way, I did not do very well in English or school. I don't know how I ended up doing video essays for a job, though. So, what do I got next? Let's get this computer on. All right, so we did the hammer strength pull downs underhand, did the T-bar rows. Okay, so up next, this will be fun. So power shrugs. This is actually, this is going to be helpful for quite a few people, I imagine. This is a lift that everybody gets wrong. And I don't mean that in like a bad way, but it's just, it's such a niche lift that nobody has a point of reference for it. So hopefully with this little segment here, I can actually show you how to properly do a power shrug and how to get big traps. There's just, it's a fairly complex lift, and the range of motion is just such a gray area. So with the very fast-paced sequencing that this lift requires, most people just can't get it right. And it really is a very unique lift, so don't be ashamed if you feel like you're not doing it right. Hopefully I can teach a little bit here, like I said. So this is a fancy kind of DIY setup. So I have these jammer arms, birthday gift from Miss Basement a year and a half ago. They're basically the best you can get for like a DIY kind of like home gym setup. You can obviously get a like a lunge machine from Hammer Strength, which I really like, but those are like probably $1,000, maybe a hair less if you're good at negotiating on Marketplace. And they also just take up so much space. So these you can store away, and it kind of just fits in with the rack. And then these are deadlift, not blocks, so I don't really know what you'd call them, but they're designed for like block pulls essentially. So you obviously set a barbell within these, and then you can just pull a little bit higher from the floor. So they're a game changer for power shrug setups. You get right to below knee height. It's just so much easier to pull up, especially if you're going a little heavier. So let's load this thing up. Usually like to do one warm-up set at about half weight or so of the working sets, just to get the traps growing. Not actually growing, but just get them stretched a little, so I'm not going into a crazy stretch on my first working set. So usually 2 plates for that, and I'll do like 3 plates and change. The actual deadlift blocks, I'll just call them that, I can't remember how much they weigh, but I think they're about 20 pounds a piece. So there's a decent amount of added weight there. Here it is. I feel like all I'm missing in this gym at this point, I just want slightly taller ceilings so I can fit like an actual commercial grade pull down here. I have this crappy one behind me, and the range of motion just sucks. Alright, so let's give this a shot. No straps quite yet, but for the working sets, definitely use straps. So I'll demo form a little bit here. Essentially what a power shrug is, it's an explosive leg drive, and you want that leg drive to translate into your shoulders rising. So the weight from, the power that you're getting out of your leg drive should transfer right into your traps, and that helps you on the concentric. The traps are not going to be very strong in a full concentric like this, especially as you get higher. The resistance profile, which is your strength curve with your traps, harder and harder the more you elevate. So the leg drive assists in that, and then the eccentric becomes even more challenging since you don't have any assistance on it. It just makes it tougher. And then catching that eccentric with heavier weight than you can truly handle on a strict shrug, catching that into a deep stretch is just on another level. So yeah, I think the camera's in a good spot there. So I'll try and demo it here, and then obviously in the working set you'll see it a bit better. Move around a little, get a stretch from a few different angles. All right, that's good. Hop into a working set. So we'll do that. Oh, you know what? I wonder how loud that that plate clanking was in the mic. I guess one way to find out. And since this isn't perfectly stable, I'm always going to use some clips on here. All right, should be good. So, same sequencing. It's explosive leg drive, assist with the concentric, control into an eccentric. Doesn't have to be slow or anything, just controlled into a deep stretch. 1 rep at a time. That's the best cue I can give you. 1 rep at a time. It's not continuous. You're going to be limiting the stretch if your knees are bent when you're in the stretch. So keep your legs, hips, abs, butt locked. Feel the stretch. 1 second, half a second, as long as you're paused. And it's 1 rep at a time. That's all you want here. So that's going to hit me in a second. I'm going to be out of breath in like 10 seconds here. So as you can see, with a lift like that, it's so hard to determine what failure is, because the range of motion, the explosiveness, it's just so hard to standardize your reps, which is okay. So don't worry too much about tracking your specific reps and numbers on here. That's not the point. Secondary little bonus that can help. But overall, just focus on quality, the sequence of the movement, explosive leg drive, get the traps high, control 1 rep at a time. Just focus on those cues and you'll be good. This is just about the best it gets for traps. Hidden lift, extremely underrated. Give it a shot. All right, and then based on how that felt, I could probably go a little heavier next time. The reps are getting a little high. Not that it's a bad thing, it's just going a little heavier, potentially more benefit from the stretch, and a little bit less fatiguing, so might as well. All right, so covered a few topics. I would say another kind of common topic you see in my comments or just on my channel in general is people love to point out that I'm not very lean. So I'm okay with that personally. I'm not lean. I'm obviously bulking. It's one of those things where my personal mindset behind it is the fat's temporary. I think that's the best thing to realize. A lot of people are just so focused on the present and the current moment, which is okay. It's a double-edged sword, is the way I see it. If you're too wrapped up in the present and how things are going right now, you you have such a hard time zooming out and planning for the future. This is very prevalent in the fitness industry. Everyone wants it, and it has to be right now. So I think the more seasoned you become as a lifter, the more you realize it's okay to not be exactly where you want to temporarily, and it's because everything is like that. You kind of have to adjust to that. So when I see people that are just spinning their wheels, super lean, afraid to gain a tiny little bit of fat, afraid to lose their abs, it's just sad because your progress is being held back. It's like if these people, when they gain fat, they're like their world is shattered. In their mind, they're less of a person. They're fat forever. It's like, I don't know. It's just such a temporary thing. Like, just, all right, if you gain 10 pounds of extra fat on your bulk, like, cut for 4.5 weeks, done. Like, I'm sure we can all remember 4.5 weeks ago feels like yesterday. So it's not an issue. I'll probably have to cut at some point, but at the same time, it's like, why are you focusing on, oh no, I'm gaining fat on a bulk instead of, well, look at all these like actual muscular gains that I'm making. So the way I see it is like, yeah, you could focus on like that you're gaining fat and just have it ruin your entire psychological health. Or you could just say like, all right, well, look at my arm measurements, look at my preacher curls, look at my JM press, any other lift in my program. I'm saying those because those are the ones I post. And I don't know, it's just like, it's a longer term versus a shorter term mindset, I guess. I think that's something a lot of people need to nail down a little bit more. All right, so one more set of power shrugs, then we'll hop into some reverse pec deck. One lift at a time. Don't get ahead of yourself. Let's get this thing out of the way. Straps too. The first like 2 years I used straps, I had such a hard time putting them on one hand at a time. So much easier now. That's one of those little fine motor skills that just takes forever to learn, I feel like. Whew. All right, let's get it. Traps are so underrated. It's like any time before like a set of power shrugs, I just run through my head how insanely cool it looks to have massive traps. That's just so motivating. I think so many people get caught up in like the numbers and, oh, I have to add a rep, progressive overload. And it's like, I don't know. If you just focus on how good and how jacked you'll look with massive traps, that will make you push these pretty hard. Whew. That is all. Whew. All right, yeah, I have to go heavier. That's getting towards like lightheaded territory. Whew. We'll put this away later. Let's see, let's head down here a little bit. Zoom in a little, huh? There we go. Look at that beautiful machine. That's the best it gets. It's gonna be fun to move out one day too, huh? So reverse pec deck, this is the one lift where I'm a big advocate of mind-muscle connection. It's just one of these lifts where I find that if you go for like a massive range of motion, a massive stretch, it's just very easy for the traps to take over. So personally, I like to train them in a shortened position. The one lift, the one muscle group, I should say, where I just find the shortened position, they're just much more active, just from a sensory thing. So this is a warm up here, but basically my cue here: keep your scaps mostly still. Get a big squeeze. I even pause at the end in the short, and then come back maybe 2/3, 3/4 of the way. I find that if I go from here to here, my shoulder position changes, my scaps move, and then to initiate the movement, it feels like my rear delts just don't have very good leverage, and it's all in the traps, and they're going to take over. So when I stop here, I do that for a reason, and I've always trained them this way. Whew. So continue the real warm-up set, I guess. This is just a mind muscly, feely, squeezy, pumpy movement. This is one where you're going to feel that contraction. You're going to feel the squeeze, and that's it. Simple as that. It's really the only time I'm going to advocate for those cues. Well, I think they're silly on any other lift, really. So before I get into my working sets here, one other topic that I wanted to talk about, just for fun. So obviously it's June. That means it's Stanley Cup final time. So I picked for the two finalists, I ended up picking Florida out of the East and Edmonton out of the West. For any of my subscribers that follow hockey, you'll know that my prediction was correct. My dad, who has been very into hockey lately, more than myself, he also predicted Florida and Edmonton, ironically enough. So where it gets interesting is I picked Edmonton to win the series. I've had them as the cup winner since March of last year. I was like, if they don't win it in 2023, they're going to win it next year. So I had to stick with that. And then, my dad picked Florida, and it's such a close matchup. Like Edmonton, you could say kind of dominated the game yesterday, which was Saturday night. I'm filming this Sunday. This will probably be released Wednesday, so it'll probably be 1-1, maybe 2-0 Florida by then, since they play Monday night. We'll see, but I don't know. It's so hard to root against Florida, but ultimately, I see it as almost like a win-win, but also lose-lose at the same time. So here's where my personal enjoyment of whoever wins and loses comes from. So Florida, varies kind of a stretch, but they're a fairly dirty team, especially Bennett. The sucker punch on Marchand, weird hit on McDavid yesterday too. Who knows if that was intentional, but he did the same thing to Nyes in 23. So not a huge fan of that guy. I respect the aggression and whatnot, but kind of a dirty player. The whole team, really. I can't say the whole team, but a lot of those guys are. But they have that perfect balance of they'll do just enough, but they won't take any actual penalties that affect the game. But then Edmonton, even though I picked them to win, the non-Canadian team winning a cup streak for 31 years it's hilarious. I think just how crazy the media goes. It's so funny. I get such a kick out of it. I feel so bad for all of the Canadian fans and whatnot, but the media just going berserk over that it's so entertaining personally. So I just think it's funny, and I think if Edmonton was to lose, I would get a kick out of watching the reactions to it. So I don't know. I don't really care who wins or loses. Just kind of my 2 cents. Let's get some rear delts. So you could see it was like at, I wasn't really counting the reps there, but probably at rep like 13 to 15, somewhere in that range. You can see I was kind of struggling to get that lockout at the end. So then I'll just do, when I really can't budget, I'll just do a slow and controlled, really kind of the best I can, eccentric to the end. And then I'll do just little momentum partials after that. Don't get caught up in all those little partials and whatnot. The meat and potatoes really does just come from the straight set to failure, and then good to do some bonus stuff, but I find a lot of people that get caught up in the partials and intensity techniques, it's kind of at the expense of the straight set. It's like they want to cut to the chase, and you can only focus on one thing at once. So just my 2 cents there. So that's one set. I got one more. That felt relatively easily. I probably have to add weight on that soon, so I'm not going to do a back off. I'm going to stick at 130 for both of my sets today. So I'm going to change that in the program, and we'll go from there. I also find that if you're a home gym guy and you don't like going old school with like the pen and paper, I find that logging my training on my laptop very convenient. And the reason for this is because if I log it on my phone, I'm always going to have like a notification. I'll have a text or like a YouTube comment or something. And then before I know it, I'm 5 minutes into Twitter, hockey or something. So I find that doing it on my laptop is just easier to just stay away from the distractions. So one more set here, and then we'll hop into a basement bodybuilding special JM press. Alright, this thing is like some feature where it just shuts off after like 20 or 30 minutes of recording or something. Kind of annoying, but I'll see if I can disable that. Alright, let's get this last set of some rear delt flies. Yeah, they feel smoked. Turned into such a nice day too. It was rainy all day and I was just like procrastinating on lifting, but coming down and just opening the bulkhead and getting some fresh air in here is so nice. This is where I wish, like, sometimes I wish I had an outdoor gym. I might do that someday, we'll see. I think the long-term plan will just be like a detached barn or garage. I think that'll be pretty sweet. Alright, so we're done with those. Set up the JM press. I'm going to have to get these lever arms out of the way here, so let's see. Alright, yeah, I gotta zoom out a little. There we go. It'll be some gym cleaning ASMR, I guess. So I guess this session should at least prove to a lot of the people that follow me that I train more than just arms. Like I have some people say, like if they're like a fairly, it's kind of loud. Sorry guys, I probably just destroyed someone's ears. I get a lot of comments like, why do you only train arms? Or like, oh, your physique kind of sucks. You just have big arms. I'm like, honestly, I think my arms have come a long way. I don't think they're like a crazy strong point or anything. And I don't know, like I think part of it is like I don't show that much of my physique on the channel. And people are just like, all right, well, I don't really know if he's actually jacked because he always wears a sweatshirt and a flannel. So I don't know, maybe this will do my physique justice. I guess it's probably not a bad thing for a bodybuilding channel. Whoa, that is stuck on there. I also wanted to say, you guys can comment any topics you want me to talk about or anything. I don't know how often I'll do these. They're kind of just kind of for fun, honestly. I get a kick out of it. I kind of enjoy doing stuff like this. This has been a fun session. It's kept me on topic, kind of. I can be a ADHD procrastinator, and this helps. But yeah, if you have anything you want to hear me talk about, it does not have to be lifting related. I think about all sorts of random stuff during my workouts anyways. It's very, well, almost kind of like therapeutic. It's like, I don't know, just no distractions or anything between sets. And then during the set, you can't really think about anything else when there's weight above your chest, right? All right, let's get this set up. Another kind of funny topic that just popped into my head. I think I got like a comment, one or two comments kind of recently about it. The whole debate about like if I'm a bodybuilder or if I'm just a hypertrophy enthusiast or whatever. It's such a stupid debate, I think, just to put it bluntly. I don't know why people care so much about like the semantics of that. It's like, I don't know. No disrespect to natural bodybuilding, competitive that is, but it's like, if you think what dictates if you're a bodybuilder or not is you signing up for a show, not you qualifying for a show, you signing up for a show, paying hundreds of dollars to enter, and you're not going to win any, paying a bunch of money for the shorts, the tan, your hotel room, all that kind of stuff. Like, no disrespect to any of that. I'm just saying, if you think that's what dictates if you're an actual bodybuilder or not, I just think it's stupid. I also think bodybuilding is almost kind of an undeserved name that competitive bodybuilding has taken, because it's not bodybuilding, it's a leanness contest, which is fine, but it's like, all right, well, what are you supposed to call yourself when you just care about building muscle like myself? So, I don't know. I think there's some merit to it. It's like, there's a lot of guys on social media that are just like your classic, like, 21-year-old Gymshark athlete, where they have all of like the downlighting and crazy like filters, little bit of Photoshop too. When they compete, you watch them and you're like, oh, that guy's not actually big. There are some guys that are absolutely big, and credit to them, props to them, but there's so many guys where it's like they look jacked on Instagram, and then you see them when they actually compete, and they just look like an average intermediate lifter. So, I don't know. There's some merit to it, but I'd say overall, if you're going to use that as your criteria for who's a bodybuilder and who's not, I think it's dumb. So let's do some warm-ups for JM. I got a couple cues for you too, so let me make sure this is actually set in the right way first. This is my least favorite part of having the channel, by the way, trying to set angles and stuff. So for JM press, I've talked about this a handful of times, but it's not a close grip bench and it's not a skull crusher. You want, I have no idea if you can see me, at the bottom of the movement, you want your elbow above your shoulder and below your wrist. If your elbow is above your wrist, that's a skull crusher, more so. If your elbow is below your shoulder, it's more of a press. So you want to be right in that middle, that happy medium sweet spot, right here. And that is what's going to put peak tension on your tricep at the bottom of the movement in the biggest stretch. It's as simple as that. To start, for grip, you want your grip to be shoulder joint width. If not, a hair inside. Not outside of the side delt. My shoulder joint is right here. The side of the side delt is here. That's like a 2 to 3 inch difference in grip width, which makes a big difference when you're actually doing the lift. So let's get to it. For me, this means bar right beneath my chin. So right there. It's a little bit tough to see with the above angle. It makes my elbows appear lower than they are, but it's kind of a happy medium. My elbows are a little bit closer to shoulder level than they are wrist level. So it's still a happy medium, but it skews maybe a little closer to a close grip bench, but it's still by far a tricep dominant lift, not even a question. So warm-ups, especially the bigger and the stronger that you get, the less warm-ups will do for the full stretch, because eventually you're going to need actual weight to push your range of motion all the way down. So just having the 60-pound bar is not quite enough to push my my elbow all the way like this. One of the good problems to have is your bicep and forearm being a little bit too big. My forearms aren't too big, I can't say that. All right, so 150, that's usually my last warm-up. I'll hop into 230 from here. Don't even bother doing the plate math on mine because I don't have counterweights in here. So the bar, instead of being like 15 or 30, it's actually 60. So that completely threw off Miss Basement. One of the times she lifted down here, she was like, "That Smith machine, why is it so hard?" And then I got the scale and I actually weighed out the bar, and it's 60. So we were both stronger than we thought. And now random viewers are angry for no reason because they think I lie about my strength. But it is what it is. I could care less. All right, so the last couple times I've been getting roughly 7 on this. I'm actually going to check my log. So let's see. Last pull sesh, yeah, I hit 7 and 7 with 230. All right, let's see. Got to readjust this headband. That's one of the things about keeping the mic up here is if I have to like readjust, which I usually have to pretty frequently, especially on push days, where my head's always like on the back of a bench. Could get annoying with the mic, but then again, it's like I can't keep it on my shirt because especially if I'm doing like a JM press or something, my chin's tucked, the bar's hitting my chin, just a whole nightmare. First world problems, I know. Did not count on that. I think that was 7, maybe. No, that was either 8 or 9. I'm going to log. So the way I do this for this series, I'll usually just, if I know how many I got, I'll just type the number. If I don't, I'll put down what I think it was, and I'll put a question mark after as a reminder to check when I'm editing that video. A little behind the scenes of my very well-run channel that definitely wasn't shot on an iPhone for the first 2 years of its existence. All right, so chill out for a little bit, and then we'll get to another set of that. No top set and back off on here. I like to go in heavy on this. The stretch is just immaculate. Whew. What else do I got for topics? Oh yeah, so here's a debate. So for Jeff Nippard's tier list, he puts in the title the best chest exercises, like chest list tier list, science-based. So the whole science-based thing, I think it's clickbait. I know some people will be saying, well, yeah, that's obvious. But when he, in his own criteria, puts in like good stretch, high tension, good ability to progressive overload over time, and then it has to feel good, that's not science-based. So I want to know what your thoughts are on that, because I think that's I think you can't have your cake and eat it too. It's either science based or it's just a good advice video. Either one, totally fine. But if you're making it science based, the JM press fits that criteria perfectly. You just can't include it feels good because it's subjective and it's individual. And a lot of whether it feels good or not for everybody, but I'd bet like 80% of the people the jam press doesn't feel good for, they either haven't trained it properly to start, so they haven't done their due diligence in building up their elbow strength, or they're just not doing it correctly. I know from my experience, and I'm pretty sure all of my clients, maybe there's one or two I'm not remembering right now, historically, when I teach them how to do a jam press and I give them the cues and they do it right, it feels good. Like very rarely. I can't even remember one or two off the top of my head of anyone that I've personally worked with that has not clicked well with the jam press. I think the sample size is big enough to say that's not a coincidence. I'd say it's as long as you're doing it properly, it's a great lift. So yes, if it doesn't feel good for you and you've tried everything, totally fine. That's an exception. That's totally fine. Don't keep doing it because science says it's good if it doesn't feel good for you. But it can't be a science-based tier list if you include feel good in your criteria as the number 2 one. So I think you have to kind of pick a lane and stay in it. I have nothing wrong with the criteria of the lift having to feel good. I'm all for that. But I think it's conflating just good practical advice and science, and you have to pick one. That's like if I titled my videos like based on science or like science based or something. It's complete clickbait. I posted a video. I think it was the first summer I had the channel. I think it was a rep range video where in the title I was like, high reps are better, proven with real bro science or something. I got a kick out of that. So let's see. Up next, one more set of JMs. Let's get it. And then I'll have another little kind of JM press topic right after this set. So I think I got 8. I'm not too concerned about reps. I'll try and keep an eye on them this set. I think that was 7. I think it was, but I have no idea. So I'd bet money that's 7. So for JM Press, a topic I get regularly in the comments is, what do you think about the elbow tuck on a JM Press? So my personal perspective is, if you're too tucked, so if your elbows are right in by your sides, you actively have to use a little bit of your lats, a little bit of pecs, just to keep your elbows tucked for no additional benefit. If your elbows are super flared, it's easy to kind of let your shoulders come out, widen your shoulders up, use a little bit more pecs and front delts in the press. I find just letting your elbows get comfortable somewhere in the middle, totally fine. I see it the same way as, say, a leg press, where yeah, the super narrow stance is going to be very awkward for a lot of people, but you still get maximal knee bend. If your knees they're tracking way out, and your adductors are working a bit harder, you're still getting maximum knee bend, and that's ultimately what you're looking for. Quads are still the prime mover. So I'd say anywhere that feels comfortable is totally fine, as long as you're not sacrificing the actual elbow bend. And that's pretty much all you need. I wouldn't go to either extreme of super flared or super tucked. 45 degrees flared out. As you approach failure, a little more flare, totally fine. There's examples of cheating to get around failure, and then there's examples of cheating to just keep going when you wouldn't be able to otherwise. And I think that's totally valid time to use that little bit of like cheat, quote unquote. More so just breaking away from perfect standardization. So note that down to 7. 2 sets left for today. So incline push downs. Gonna do a top set, back off set, 100 pounds and 90 pounds. I've actually been experimenting with shortened partials on this, which is just not a topic people are going to like right now, but I find they actually do have kind of a time and place. So let's see this. Let's load this cable up. Warm-ups for this are going to be completely redundant after doing JM press. So I can just hop right into my working weight, which is 100 to start. There we go. So the cable tower I'm using is the Titan T. I can't remember if it's the T2 or the T3 model. I got it. This was one of the first pieces I got for the home gym. This was right after I bought the house. I think I bought it in April of 2021. So it is a little more expensive now, I'd imagine. I think I got it for like $190 or something. So it's the short version because my ceilings are short. But it's okay because I am too. That's one of the funniest things of when I first started the channel. I still get these comments somewhat regularly. People think that I'm like 6'3" or something. I think it's for a couple reasons. The main one is because my my ceilings are short, so proportionally, I don't know if you can see the ceiling. Oh, that's way zoomed in. Let me zoom that thing out. Like if you just look at me, say, compared to the ceiling. Like, there's just not that much headspace. I don't know if you can see that well there, but it's only like, I think they're 7 foot and I'm like 5'9" or something. So people are like, oh, he's almost as tall as the ceiling. He's like 6'3" or something. They see this rack too. And this is a short rack. It's like a 6 foot rack or something. It's like, oh, he's as tall as a power rack, almost as tall as the ceiling. Like, and then, yeah, they're like, wait, oh, you're not as heavy as I thought you were. Like, you're what, 6'3"? I'm like, no, I'm actually, I think I'm a short king. So let's get to work here. Setting up the camera. Yeah, I said this earlier. This is the most tedious thing in my opinion, especially when the tripod's massive and I have gym equipment just everywhere down here. First world problem. So the attachment I use, this is the Granite Fitness flat bar. Very small company. I don't know if they still make it. I think it was $38 when I bought it. I can't remember if it was last year or 2 years ago. Might have been the winter of going from 22 to 23, but this thing's a beauty. Cable stuff isn't the most stable, but I find this does help quite a bit. So instead of putting like my fingers or something on a bar right in like the knuckle area, what this does... Did this just turn off again? Nope, we're good. So what this does is it allows you to use your palm so you can really put it closer to your wrist. That is a terrible camera angle. Yeah. This will take some getting used to. I can normally just edit these mistakes out in the arm series. So you can place it lower in the palm, which, yes, it lets you lift more weight because the moment arm shrinks, instead of pressing from here, you're pressing from here. But that's not the reason I'm doing it. It's just because it's more stable. And if you have $40 burning a hole in your pocket and you want big triceps, I'd recommend it. Nothing. One thing I'm realizing is now you're going to hear the most ridiculous noises I make mid-set, like all those little grunts and breathing and stuff. When I normally do the voiceover on the 18-inch arm series, my God, that is, I'm going to get a kick out of listening that back. That's probably going to get memed, honestly. Yeah, I'm sure I sound absolutely ridiculous. But it is what it is. Honestly, when you're training that hard, it's like okay, so I think this thing shuts off. I think it's 25 minutes. It is what it is. But I'll see if I can disable that. This is turning into more editing than I thought. So what's this memo at? So a minute 12, an hour 12. And this is shut off. I think that's the third time it's shut off. So honestly, it doesn't really add up. So 25 minutes. Yeah, I guess it's close enough to 25 minutes. Maybe it's 24 or something. That adds up a little better. Whew. So what I was saying earlier about the shortened partials, on this lift, getting through peak resistance is the biggest challenge, and that is the purpose of this movement. I like to go through peak resistance. That means keeping my elbow back just a hair and getting a maximum elbow bend. So that means I go from beyond 90 degrees, or vice versa, to beyond 90 degrees in this angle. So through peak resistance. This would be peak. I like to go above and below it. However, when you are beyond failure, so once you're at 0 RIR, what I like to do is, instead of just trying and completely going into a grinding halt isometrically to get right to peak resistance, I like to say, all right, I'm not getting another rep, so I'm going to go here, and I'm going to stop before peak resistance. So I'll stop right around this level here and keep grinding out short partials. I think there's benefit to isolating the triceps in the short position, especially when your lifts are going to be more challenging in the length of position. So a JM press, a push down is even arguably kind of a length and biased exercise when you do it like this. When your elbows go back a little bit, it's almost like a little bit of a JM press, because it's technically a hair of a compound movement since you're moving at the shoulder joint too ever so slightly. So some short partials, I think there's some merit to it. Either way, I'm feeling pretty much good to get this final set in. Usually I'd rest a little bit longer. I do take a pretty liberal rest time with my arm training. But it is what it is. I'm not going to keep you guys forever here. So let's see. Let's get this final one. So this is 90 pounds. It's obviously a 10% drop. It's so much easier though. It feels like a 50% weight drop, honestly. All right. So full reps to start, 2-0 RAR. And that is just so much harder than it looks. That is just, it's not easy. So this is not comfortable. That's better. Let's fix this. All right. So that's it. That's a pull session. That is back. So lats, traps, triceps, rear delts, upper traps too, with a power shrug. So that's pretty much it. I would say if you guys have any questions, topics you want to see me talk about, this is going to be very interactive when I do these. I'll keep a close eye on the comments, which I usually do anyways. We'll have some fun topics. So if you have anything you want to talk about, if you have any thoughts or opinions on stuff I talked about, any hockey fans, let me know your 2 cents on the cup final. That's pretty much it. That was fun. Might do more of these, might not. We'll see.